Good Tuesday afternoon from San Francisco. We're live again from the Beach Street Yacht Club. Studio B here in the townhouse that is owned and operated by Julia. Lets me stay here as her tenant, so we have to always be nice to her as the Commodore also of the Beach Street Yacht Club. I trust you're well.
I am.
You know, we now have 165 members of BSYC.
Wow.
Yeah, we're right up there. Congratulations. You're very popular, Commodore. Are you Commodore for life? Are you giving lessons to Claire Harrington? She's about to become Commodore. Our super Fozy Claire Harrington becomes Commodore in New York on the 11th of December, and I'll be there, and I know a lot of others of you, or a number of others of you will be. Terry, are you going to be up there in New York on the 11th?
I am going to be up there on the 11th. I look forward to that induction, and I had a quiet chat with Commodore Harrington a couple hours ago, and she said, no fooling around on this show, Tom. It's serious. But is it irony that the Beach Street Yacht Club is actually the BSYC?
It was intentional.
Oh, absolutely intentional.
And it was not only was it intentional, Terry, but it's not lost on many people that it is the BSYC, and it was founded on April 1st, 2016, on April Fool's Day, as a joke, thinking we have some friends from St. Francis and a few of us, we have a few sing-alongs, and now we've got people all over the world. Next time you're in San Francisco, we'll make you a member.
Absolutely.
With great pleasure.
Yes.
So this is show number 886. Thank you for joining us here at the starting line. Happy Tuesday and happy Thanksgiving week, at least here in the USA. What it used to be a Thursday of the end of November, since the Civil War, actually, of thanks. President Lincoln started the official, right?
I don't know. Remember?
Oh, well, you weren't around, I hope. You're old, but you're not that old. I'm old too, but not that old. In any event, it was a weekend, a 3-4 day weekend,
right.
And now it's the bloody week. People take the week off, and it's arguably the nicest holiday aside from Christmas here in the States.
Right.
Bravo Zulu, another first in the Aussie 18-footer league. Emma Rankin, second woman to win a race in that league, won on Sunday. We'll feature her and that broadcast team. T. Hutch, as we said, is standing patiently by in Annapolis, joining us for the, 4th, 5th time on this show. Delighted to have Terry with us, and we'll get him on in a moment. He is the president of sailing operations at American Magic, and that team continues going from strength to strength as they're setting up in Pensacola for some interesting things Terry's going to tell us, reveal even more about what their plans are going forward. John Emmett's Coaching Corner. Working together is the theme of his submission today. We'll do an AC38 Cup date. Sir Ben is in the Times of London today. Pete Burling was on Radio New Zealand yesterday, and we have some more to tell you about in the American Cup boat race. Alistair Murray, his awesome Aussie anecdote. He interviewed Tom Slingsby a couple days ago. So we've got some of the top people. Julia,
yes,
going into this weekend's big Sail GP Grand Finale in Abu Dhabi, all on the show, at least on tape.
Yes.
At least all recorded. Then we have the Australian Sailing Salute to JB, to John Bertrand, our Aussie John Bertrand, not our American John Bertrand. And he is, we'll tell you about that when we get to that segment, but he's doing nice things again for Australian sailing and for their Olympic team.
Yes.
And then the last leg, more of Slingsby. As a preview for this weekend's Sail GP finale, Rolex has put out one of their superb videos, and it is about 10 minutes long, but I'm going to play every second of it because it's really good. And, of course, it's a preview, again, for this weekend's Sail GP in Abu Dhabi. Day in History, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and, of course, our fantastic Fozy. Let's carry on here with 886 on Friday. We had 885. Kay Ardini was with us for his part 2. After that, we had podcasters interrupt us, Julia.
Yeah, I
Look
know.
at T. Hutch laughing. We had Paul. We were knocked off the air for only, I think, the third time that we've lost the power or lost the internet in the middle of his interview some weeks ago on the 4th of November, and then he came back. And if you haven't heard that show, I commend it to you. Go watch it because it was really a hell of it. Paul's very clear. He's very several people use the word. He's very purposeful in the way he speaks, and he thinks clearly, speaks with, speaks softly, but with a strong mind.
Yes.
And will. So that was a great show, and we appreciate Paul being on here very, very much indeed. And that's a look at the pre-show here. What are we celebrating, Julia, this week?
Besides Thanksgiving?
Happy Thanksgiving week.
Oh, yes.
We previewed that in the starting line, and here
Oh, look at that.
is all about Thanksgiving.
With two very different groups coming together. The Pilgrims, settlers from England, and the Wampanoag, the native people of what we now call Massachusetts. When the Pilgrims landed in 1620 on Wampanoag land, they faced a brutal winter. Half of them did not survive. Then the Wampanoag stepped in and taught them to grow corn, fish, and survive in this new world. In 1621, after their first successful harvest, the Pilgrims invited the Wampanoag to a 3-day feast. Together, they celebrated friendship and gratitude. Fast forward to 1863. President Abraham Lincoln made Thanksgiving an official holiday during the Civil War. He wanted Americans to focus on gratitude, even in tough times. Now you know the story. Happy Thanksgiving.
Now, do you believe that, Julia?
Yes.
The Indians and the Mayflower, the Brits that came over on and the Dutch too. There were Dutch people on the boat.
I do.
Or is that a myth? Is that just something made up that we've all grown up with and want to believe?
Well, I kind of think I believe it because they all had to survive together.
Well, they did, and of course, it wasn't long before they were at each other's proverbial throats, I guess. That's Thanksgiving, and of course, this has been on Facebook and elsewhere forever. Let's just acknowledge that without sailing, we wouldn't even have a Thanksgiving. So everybody tries to lay claim to Thanksgiving, including sailors in this country. And
Yes.
as Clark Chapin says, well, that's at least part of the story. Alan Long thinks it's a myth. Clayton Embley down in Kentucky says not quite, but a good story. And David Richard Morse, T. Hutch into house. Yes, he's on his boat down on what are you on, Terry? You on the Severn River? Where's your house?
Yeah, Spot Creek.
Spot Creek. I know where that is.
Yes.
Right across, what is it, kind of north of the Academy, right?
If you coming into Annapolis Harbor, keeping the Academy on the right-hand side, just go underneath the Eastport Bridge and work your way up the creek.
Up the creek.
Up the creek, with or without a paddle. Gordon Smith in Denmark saying, good evening, all. Chris Fury, erudite. I'm not sure who he's referring to, maybe Kayard. Ed Worley, hello, everyone. Hi, Ed, up here normally in NorCal, although he was down at Balboa Yacht Club earlier this week. The real big sale is Stanford versus Cal. Yeah, Blake, that took place last Wednesday, and it was won by Stanford, unlike your football game, Julia.
Why?
Well, it was won by Stanford, too, much to everyone's surprise.
Yes, I know.
There was no surprise about the big sale on Wednesday at St. Francis Yacht Club between those two teams. Mr. Dr. Andrew McUrban is in the house as well, at least in the chat. Marcos Weinstein down in SoCal. Hey, TFA, currently aboard the sailing vessel Tempest, the Jeanneau 45, heading north up the coast of Mexico from Cabo to Ensenada.
Wow.
Glad to catch a little of SI. All the best to you and T. Hutch. Thanks, Marcos. And Ed Vitrano is in foggy, soggy Rio Vista. I thought he was from Pennsylvania, but he's actually here from the Bay Area, from up in the Delta, Julia.
Oh.
Clark Chapin, there were several Thanksgiving days, but Lincoln fixed it on the fourth Thursday in November. There's Dolly DeVola. We're going to feature him in the next segment. G'day from scorching Sydney. Looking forward to hearing T. Hutch today, as I'm sure are many other people. Steve Atkins, another superstar guest. Yeah, we've really had 3 in a row here late in our year when the sailing season is wound down, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, but it is warming up down under. As you heard those in Sydney, it's quite warm. Jody Shields has gone to Fiji. He says, Bula poolside in Fiji. Looking forward to today's show. Emmett's driving, but listening. Don't watch, John. Keep your eye on the road. And on and on and on. Welcome to all of you. And again, without sailing, we wouldn't have Thanksgiving. We will do our show on Friday because, some of us have to work, Julia.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to do a show. And a lot of people tune in on Fridays because they're off.
Yeah.
at least here in the States. And then we got a bunch of people around the world who are not off. So we'll do our regular show on Friday as a preview for Sail GP. T. Hutch is up in a moment, but first, let's do a Bravo Zulu. Well done in praise of performance, and to the aforementioned New South Wales 18-foot championship, the 18-footer league. They are well underway down under, and it's been an exciting season already. I watched some of the racing from this past weekend. The state championship, races 1 and 2, took place, I believe, on Sunday. I think it was Sunday, not Saturday. But on Sunday, and Sail Media live stream it, as they've done for years now, taking Sydney Harbor 18-foot skiff racing to the world. And these guys and gals do a fabulous job with the coverage. So first, a Bravo Zulu to them, covering the very close finish in race 2 between the Rag and Famish Hotel, and Club Marine. It was, as we would say in Michigan, Julia, a real barn burner. Rag and Famish Hotel and Club Marine. And here's this in race 2, Club Marine Emma Rankin's team with Aaron Everett and Brandon Byink gave a brilliant display in the testing. It was lightish, extremely light, shifty conditions to defeat a fast finishing Rag and Famish Hotel, Seve Yarvin, Ryan Ewings, and Max Nearen by 17 seconds, with race one winner earlier in the day, Balmain, another 10 seconds back. And she held on and has become the second woman to win a Sydney Harbor, an 18-footer league race. And now she's the first one to win in a state championship. And here is the call from Peter Shipway from Shippers and from our super Fozy.
Jody, not.
No, not Jody. Dolly DeVoa.
Oh,
Here
Dolly.
it is. Yes.
But Emma Rankin trying to do what Tash Bryant did a few weeks ago when Tash became the first woman skipper to win a club championship heat. Will Emma Rankin, a couple of weeks later, become the second girl? At the moment, things are looking promising.
I wasn't gonna say anything until we got there.
Well, look how light it is back at the finishing line. Well,
I was aware that she'd be the first female winner of a state heat, but I didn't want to say anything until we get there. But they're looking good.
That's light ahead, though, Dole. They're about 150 metres from the finishing line. At the moment, at that angle, they're laying down. There's a tail end of Charlie going round the mark, the first time, 18-footer bar and restaurant. Anyway, there's Emma now, looking good. She's got almost 3 strings. Yeah, good shape. Really good shape. Terrific performance, this. First time out in this boat for this crew. They've been working hard to get the boat set up. Well, they've set it up perfectly today. Brandon Byink and Aaron Everett. They're about 50 metres from home, and she's going to do it. It's getting lighter, though. It's getting lighter. Come on, Emma, you can do it. Yeah, it's slowly here, but charging down behind them is the Rag, but there's not going to be enough runway, I don't think. See how light it is, just one on the wire or half on the wire.
What a super result.
Here it is. Club Marine takes it. Well done indeed. Fantastic performance. Creates a bit more history.
Absolutely.
Second girl to win a club championship heat. The Rags, second, Seve Yarvin, and the first race winner, Balmain, third.
Bravo Zulu. She is apparently an amazing sailor. T. Hutch, have you ever sailed an Ideen?
I have not. The closest interaction we've had with the 18s was at the Far 40 Worlds in 2017 down in Sydney, where we were racing inside on the 40s, and one of the 40s actually got tangled up with one of the 18s on the race course. ended up running them over.
I remember. I remember well. I was chairman of that jury and a number of those other Far 40 World's juries in that era, and we were asked to give redress, and we said sorry, no provision for that.
No,
but I wanted not only congratulate Emma, and Alistair Murray is saying the same in the chat, as are many others, but this television coverage is going from strength to strength. And we just want to recognize Sail Media Livestream before we get back to Emma and her team in a moment. The CEO and founder of Sail Media Livestream is Jimmy Burry, I guess, in Australia. I don't know the gentleman, but Sail Media's coverage provides viewers with all the close-up racing action, along with the beauty of the harbor and the city, all backed up by expert commentary from former competitors, Peter Shipway, Andrew Dolly DeVola, who not only talk the talk, but have already walked the walk. Coverage producer-director Michael Chittenden details the Sail Media operation. Quote, "We have 3 cameras feeding into our live stream production. There is a drone, a main camera mounted on the roof of the camera cat, and a commentary team point of view POV camera. The drone is operated from the back of the camera cat by 2 people, a pilot and a drone spotter and catcher. It's a requirement that drones in general, operating as we do, have spotters watching out for other aircraft, obstacles, and mast heights."
Yes.
So there's that camera cat, one of the 2 boats. The other one's got the commentators on it, and they're moving around also with cameras, but look at, they're up close and personal. There was one of the teams. And it's just an astonishing job that they do between those 2 boats and their drones. And it's a little bit like what we do for Governor's Cup, because we're out on the water. And that is a main feature and the thing that sets their stream apart from most other streams. It's how we use the onboard commentary team. They are not in studio, far from the actual race. They are right in the thick of all the action, which is why we keep preaching, from Andy Rose and Chris Bretschker and myself doing the Gov Cup, that is so important to be out on the water. The way, the America's Cup commentators, Gary Jobson and so on, used to be out on the water, not in a sound booth, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of miles away. They go on to say there's also a great relationship between shippers, meaning Peter Shipway, and Andrew Dolly DeVola, our super Fozy, who are commentators, that filters through the live stream. Both are incredibly knowledgeable indeed about sailing and the 18s. And from the feedback we get, this is one of the things that viewers love. Now get this, something else we do at Gov Cup, and they do a great job of it, arguably even better job. We are always trying to include the viewers in the coverage. And as part of the stream, we are using the YouTube live chat feature, which is monitored throughout the racing to allow viewers the opportunity to ask questions and have the commentary team reply live.
Ooh, isn't that good?
Live.
That's
so
great.
I put all this up apropos the big discussion going on about televising our beloved sport, particularly with the Olympics, the discussion we've had with KR, the discussions we've had with John Marshall and Margarita Bottini. Margarita's on here, by the way, Terry. Already, she's already asking questions in the chat for you. Are your boats for sale? She just asked. But the point is, all you have to do is take a page out of the Gov Cup, or particularly this group's book.
Yes.
Because they're doing a fantastic job getting these live shots, doing this coverage, and doing all the things that I think would make the Olympic television coverage eminently more interesting. Likewise, Bill Wingrove says, and I'll ask Terry about it in a minute, the 52 Super Series does a great job with Andy in a booth at the regatta site and then a commentator on the water to fill the gaps. But they've been doing this for years with great success on providing live action. Yes, indeed. So there's lots of other comments up here, but let me just now get back to Emma and her gang, Emma Rankin, Aaron Everett, and Brandon Bayink, for their great performance in the particularly in the second race on Sunday. Huge congratulations to Emma and her Club Marine crew for their incredible victory in race 2 of the New South Wales 18-footer skiff championship. Emma made history as the first female skipper to win a race in that championship. The competition is fierce and the talent on display is inspiring. And thank you to Dolly DeVola for sending me links to some of that info, and the rest of it I dug up on my own.
Yeah. They're so much fun to watch.
They are indeed. T. Hutch, any reaction to all of that?
I think first of all, awesome for her and her team to have a good event. The promotion and the television, I agree with their analysis of what the Super Series has done. As we get ready for next season, I go back and watch a lot of the racing because it gives you a good context of what you did well and what you did poorly. And it's great to see the quality of that racing and really how well they've done at promoting it. Super Series, certainly the Worlds in Cascais, and how windy that event was. It's great to see how it all comes out in the television. So my father spends a lot of time watching it as he's been aging. And so normally when I come home from an event, I'll sit down with him and talk through all the racing and go through. And so in that regards too, it's been good to see it all.
Your dad a good sailor?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. Yes.
Did you learn to sail from your dad, with your dad or mom? Because I grew up as a very young kid sailing. They said they couldn't afford a babysitter, so they stuck me in a little bassinet or some kind of a thing up under the deck of a Rebel or a Lightning, and it was good thing we didn't capsize. I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, I born and raised on the Chesapeake Bay, and long hot summers on a Concordia yawl. And so my dad was self-taught, and I think that passed down a little bit to me. And he, he was always tinkering. He was always futzing around with the boat. Probably the things that strike me the most is he won the Marion to Bermuda race a couple times, but he won overall because he navigated there celestially, and so he was quite. He was quite unique with some of those things, and he had this cool little sextant that he cherished and polished, and the thing was perfect. But I won him a couple Marion Bermuda races. He won the Annapolis to Newport race overall, and the same year that he won that overall was the same year that I won the Knickerbocker Cup, and at the time it was the Brute Cup in New York Harbor, where we were fortunate enough to beat Peter Holmberg in the final. And I can remember that there was a couple articles written about, in particular, my dad's success that season. And their big tactic on the Annapolis to Newport race was they were having dinner, and they didn't want to spill the wine, so they didn't jibe to go inside Block Island, in between Block Island and the mainland. They went outside Block Island. Everybody parked inside, and he carried the breeze. So it's a little bit different.
But that's what makes our
good.
right.
Yeah.
That makes our sport so wonderful, and it's just.
And my brother was with him, and so sailing in my family has been one of these things that it keeps us all connected. And I love the fact that I get to spend time with my children, with my brother. We're so fortunate. When you think about the week of Thanksgiving, we're so fortunate to have the opportunities that we've had, certainly growing up, that my parents provided.
Exactly. Same here. In fact, I heard, Julia, from my brother, whom you know, Paul, this morning. He says they're decorating the bar at the Portage Yacht Club, the little lake where I grew up, Terry, northwest of Ann Arbor, and he wanted to know if we had any burgees. I said, "Oh, do we have burgees? I'll ask the Fosey for some burgees for the Portage Yacht Club."
Yes.
I'm sure the BSYC has a burgee.
We do, and it's right. It's right up there above Julia. And Terry, it's the same.
Probably like the San Francisco Yacht Club.
You're right.
Have you noticed that?
Good eye. That is the St. Francis Burgee minus the stars, but replaced by a guitar and a glass of red wine. There
you go.
And when I was drinking red wine, but I don't drink anymore, so we have to change that. Meg said we have to change that when she was up here this past. My daughter got to change it to a glass of water. I don't think that's the same, Julia.
No.
Southern Maryland Sailing Association will be sending one. Clayton Embley says, that's great, Clayton.
Great.
Thank you very much. And T. Hutch, let's go on to your very successful summer. You had a terrific go here. as we celebrate. If you're just joining us, Terry Hutchinson's our guest today, show number 886 for Tuesday, the 25th of November. He's live from his boat parked in front of it, down on the Spa Creek in Annapolis. T. Hutch is in the house, Tom Fishbeck is saying. Yes, indeed. And I am delighted to have Terry with us. This is, I don't know, we'd have to ask Clark Chapin. You think it's your fourth time on the show, Terry?
Yeah, fourth or fifth.
Or in something like that. But
Yeah.
Alistair Murray, by the way, past president of Australian Sailing, say he doesn't drink anymore as well, but I don't drink any less.
That's a good one.
The drinking show, we call this, Terry, the drinking show of the sailing habit.
Yeah.
But you had a great summer in the 52s and on Bellamente. Tell us about it.
Yeah. No, we did. I mean, the summer, we signed off on the American Magic Quantum Racing after, as you had to have there 18 years with Doug and the team, really. And it was the year for me personally was an incredible year because I had the opportunity to sail, reconnect with some great teammates, had the opportunity to sail and race with Harry and with Victor and with Sarah Stone as our afterguard, under the watchful eye of Coach James. The line of the summer from Coach James was, "I'm surprised you won for as many headers as you sailed today." Like, thanks, Coach. I appreciate the positive reinforcement.
That's James Lynn.
Yeah, that's James.
Tell us about your coach.
James is of the people that have had influence over the last 15 years of my sailing, James is probably the top of the list. Not probably, is the top of the list. We're very different in how we approach the racing. He's very analytical with things, and as we know, generally speaking, the best tacticians are on the fastest boats.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the success, certainly this year on our boat, was at Harry's hands and Lucas Calabresi, who was trimming the main. And for those that don't remember, Lucas was the port helm that stepped in for Goody when Goody went man down during the Louis Vuitton event last year. And I'm not sure, I'm certain that it doesn't come across in any of the broadcasts, but Lucas he won a 470 bronze medal helming, and then he steps into the AC 75 with about 5 days of prep. Does a great job in that series he and Tommy did against Luna Rosa, and then steps on to the 52 and trims the mainsail with the support of Sean Clarkson and the rest of us. But really, they were the primary part of our speed team, and the guy is so good, and he's so versatile that when I look at this picture and I look at this team, that team emulates the commitment to performance and the commitment to the team. And Lucas, as a sailor and his teammate, was one of those type of people, because he's a better tactician than I am. He's an incredibly talented helmsman. He's a great sailor, and yet he stepped on and trimmed the mainsail. And the success that we had, it was at Harry's hands, and it was at Lucas's hands, and Daggy's and Ian as the trimmers. But there was something about this team, and I think it's always been there with this team in particular, that netted a lot of results. This year was, so we won 3 of the 5 regattas. We didn't have a great finish to the season. When I look back at it, I tend to think that we were all a bit caught up in the fact that after 18 years that we were shutting it down, and that was hard. The last event was tough, but we won an event. We won 2 of the 3 events that we won without having to sail the last race, and then we won the World Championship in a nail biter by a point, which was probably the hardest day of racing, certainly this season, because we deserved to win the regatta. Mother Nature was very testing on the day, and we did a lot of things well and didn't have a lot of things rolling in our favor, just as the law of averages played out. But it was one of those moments. And Victor and I worked incredibly hard all season to have high percentage decision making in our tactics and our strategy, and it was a really big test for us. And having the opportunity to race with him, having been beaten by him this summer, you get these different looks at the game and how people approach things. And I think about that in particular, and the opportunity to spend time with them racing. And, it forms a bond that you never really can break. And that's certainly what we had with that team.
Terry, how good is H4?
H4 is awesome. He's got a massive amount of potential, and he's got a great future in front of him. He's an incredibly talented sailor. He's got a great demeanor to him. He has, for his age, he has a high level of ice water in his veins, and he still has to develop a little bit of the meat and potato sailing that I continue to preach. Where it's meat and potatoes is never all that good looking, but it's always good. And it's it's one of those things that as you grow and you recognize the law of averages and how that helps you win regattas, that's where Harry's strength is going to come, because he's naturally very talented, and he's such a great young man. It was, when I think about how good of a job he did in certain situations, and really how well he and I meshed together, because I think he has all that skill for such a young age, but how he worked through certain situations, and maybe because it was easy because I was carrying all the angst for him. He just did his job, but he was supported by Lucas and by Daggy and by Ian, and he never had to worry at any given moment about how hard the team was going to push, because he knew everybody around him was pushing. And
Nice.
he just had to do his job, which he did to the highest level. And so, it was such an incredible team for so long, and it was such a great way to close it out. And I was so proud for the work that we did all season long, and how we got it to the finish line. I mean, it wasn't pretty in the end, but we were able to execute on the plan.
We're getting a question here. Who's
Yeah.
the photo bomber back here in the back with her? I guess it's a her, or is it a he with a thumb?
No, that's Doogie.
Oh, is it?
That's the bowman of Bellamente. So he's standing next to us on platoon, and he's being Doogie, who I love. So it's good, and that team's a great representation of ownership. There are none better than Doug and Maria, and what they provided for really this group of people here, but the extended quantum racing family it's incredible.
What's the next step? One hears that there's going to be some more offshore racing in Doug's future, Great Lakes and beyond. Is that true?
Yeah, well, that question was pretty prevalent, and people asked, why is it shutting down? Why now? And really, as of 5 days ago, they have 5 grandchildren. He and Maria do, and I think it's a complete acknowledgement that Doug is following his family values, and he wants to spend time with his kids and his grandchildren. And he and Maria are so unique in how they, how their whole family is intertwined, and how they, care and support for each other. So he wants to spend time doing that, and good on him. They're going to race the WinQuest and the GL52, but he's going to continue with his partnership and his ownership of the Super Series, and promoting that side of the sport. And he continues to be the class president. And so I think, as much as anything, it was a good time for him to step out and continue to do what's important to him and his family.
Bill,
Good on him for that.
Indeed. And it's a great family. I worked for his dad, for Rich DeVos, in America 2, the America 2 syndicate back in the 80s, when he was the chairman of that syndicate for us. Bill Wingrove is asking, where is the Quantum 52 going?
Yeah, so it's been sold to a Dutch owner, to Peter Harema, and with that, a lot of the team is going to continue with Peter on the No Way Back, which is awesome. And for anybody's, Peter is an RC44 world champion.
Mhm.
He also raced in the Vendée and finished. Not the previous one, but the one before, which was just awesome. It having that capability as a sailor and having that perseverance and tenacity. I'm looking forward to working with Peter and to seeing what we can achieve.
You going to sail with him?
I am, yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, there's
Yeah.
some new
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, so which is good.
And a lot of your gang on
Yeah,
American Magic Quantum Racing will sail on the boat.
Yeah, they've he's retained the lion's share of the team and the shore team. And so we're really fortunate. Part of the agreement there was to continue on and race the boat in the Super Series. And as I get to know Peter, he had in the past raced a lot with Ray Davies from Team New Zealand, and so Ray was awfully supportive of this transaction and us coming together. And so I'm looking forward to it. It's a new challenge, and I think it's a really good opportunity for all of us to stay connected to the Super Series, but also introduce a new owner to this incredible racing.
Is Harry Malgus going with you?
He is not. No, he's not. So we're, Peter's going to steer, so which is good. And of the team, I think Victor's going and sailing with Gladiator, so Lucas will step in as a strategist, and Rodney Ardern is coming back to do the pit, and Michele Avaldi is going to navigate for Sarah. And I didn't touch on Sarah Stone, who navigated for us this year, but it was, there were highs in this season. One of them personally for me was working with Sarah.
Is this Sarah right here?
No, that's Lara.
Who?
Where's Sarah? Where is she? She
Back
is
here?
Yep, there she is. And for those that don't know, I mean, Sarah's an epidemiologist by trade, and she had to she was sandwiched between Victor and I, and she would always laugh because she knew she was the smartest person of the after guard between Victor and Harry and myself. But I can't give her enough praise for the job that she did. I mean, the first regatta of the season, we had a lot of instrument issues, just gremlins in the system for whatever reason. And Sarah, being the consummate professional, she had, complete ice water in her veins when electronics were shutting off and the systems weren't working, and how she worked through the process of getting the boat back up and working mid race really was, it was just awesome to be part of. And so, we were really, really fortunate to have her in that role, especially for Harry and myself and Victor. I mean, we all had our strengths, and what Sarah brought every single day was a high level of racing skills, a high level of consistency, and a high level of professionalism. And it was exactly what we needed. And I can't say enough good things about the job that she did on board. Wherever her future goes and whoever she races with, they're going to be lucky to have her.
T. Hutch is with us. We're about 38 minutes into today's show, and before we get into American Magic and the America's Cup, there she is. Why don't we talk about the first time you, Julia, and I were on a team together? Julia and her late husband was one of the supporters of the St. Francis Yacht Club's challenge for the 2000 Cup. America won, and was that your first cup? Were you telling us on the tech check?
Yeah, that was my first cup, and I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to trim the mainsail all the way through, and I was probably the least qualified to trim the mainsail. Sean Clarkson would have been better at it. In fact, he put the mark every single day on the main sheet and had choice words that he would say to me, but he was very clear in his instructions not to go too far beyond that mark. And from there, a great relationship has formed.
What was he doing? Was he trimming headsails?
No, he was the main caddy.
Oh, he was the caddy. So
he was intimately involved in helping set up the sails. But when I think about America One, and I think about the success that we had this summer on the 52, you can draw a direct line from that program to this season. Because even though I was I was talking about Lucas and singing his praises. Sean was the man behind the scenes that was developing a lot of our speed and techniques this summer, and he had the same passion. He had the same dedication to the boat's performance back in 2000 when we were doing America One, and I was bummed to have missed the reunion this year, and it was great to see all the photos that Sharon provided and the memories that we have. I mean, that was for where we were in, I don't know, be it June of '99 to where we got to get to the Louis Vuitton final. I still look back and, we had the race that we got penalty. We got a penalty coming into the finish for a windward leeward that we were winning. And we had a minute lead in that race, that would have put us up 3-2. That whole series was about as good as it can possibly get. We had a couple races that we came from behind and won. Yeah, I mean, and I was lucky to have the opportunity to race with Paul and with Kostecki and with Gavin and Morgan Larson and in that afterguard. And then, there's the Ease Carters that came out of it and such a unique team.
He was not at the reunion the other night, but I don't know if you remember, Julia, but Carter, Perrin was his last name?
Yeah, Carter Perrin.
Perrin, and he was a nice guy, young guy, strong, fit. But Caird was all the time shouting at him, "Ease, Carter, ease, Carter," and that became the tagline for the champion.
It was, that team, and we got pretty far for the amount of resource that we had, and we were fresh off the heels. That team formed off the heels of Paul's success in that 97-98 Whitbread, and I, from an America's Cup experience, I was just so lucky to be involved in that, being the first one, because it really laid a solid foundation of how to do things well and how to compete. Obviously, massive kudos to Paul and for his Star Worlds that he just won. I mean, that, it says a lot about him and his skill for, you think about bookends on a career, and I'm not saying that's a bookend, but it was just awesome to see him win that event.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's done yet. He's
I don't think any of us are, but
we're getting old though. You guys are still young.
Yeah.
I think Julia's done. Her cruising days are over, right, Julia?
Well, we never know.
You never know. Yeah, that was my 7th America's Cup campaign, and I echo what, in fact, Paul and I talked about it on the show the other day, and what you said in the tech check. That was the best, or maybe the last, not only the best, but the last of the Yacht Club family campaigns. It was friends and family, supported by friends and family of the team, like you, Julie, and your late husband, and Lucy Jewett, and Fritz, and Tom Sipe, and who else? Larry Finch, and a whole lot of other people. And at the 25th, by the way, Sipe, I told you in the tech check, Sipe and Finch were there at the 25th reunion a couple weeks ago, and we had that. And it was a warm, and Sharon Green was there with all of her photos, and it was a warm, friendly, great gathering. And one of the admins, kind of middle to low admin for the team, she was very effective, Susan Rooney, is about to become our Commodore of St. Francis Yacht Club 25 years later. She will be Commodore, the next Commodore.
Yeah, St. Francis is lucky.
Indeed. David Richard Morse is in the chat saying Lexi Gahagan was also riding the back of the boat.
He was our navigator. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't mean to leave Lexi out. He had more going on than the early settlers, though, Lexi did with those boats, because we were just getting into the crossover of evolving good time and distance techniques and tools, and Lexi was leading it the whole way. But there was, looking at Sharon's pictures, I have a great photo of Elias and I, and Elias is chewing on a Diet Coke bottle when he was...
This is Elias, is one of your kids.
Yeah, so Elias is 26, turns 27 in February.
Oh, man.
He was 8 months old, and he's a wonderful young man, but it's you can't... That team, to me, looked a lot like our 52 team. It had X factor to it or an intangible to it that the boats maybe not be the best boat, but we had a fair amount of mongrel to us, and between Curtis and Josh and the grinders in the middle. I mean, it was just it was a very it was almost the island of misfit toys. Because we had all of KR John's experience, and then you had guys like me that didn't know anything about trimming a mainsail, but were fortunate enough to be surrounded by really good people.
That was really a good club effort in that sense.
No, it was a wonderful effort, and Jim Nicholas was there the
Jimmy
other
Nick.
night. I hadn't seen Jimmy Nick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Philly the Trenner, and I hadn't seen. Well, Phil wasn't there, but Jimmy Nick was there, and it was nice to catch up with him. But yeah, it was a great effort.
And Buddha,
and
God rest his soul.
The late great Bob Billingham, who was our COO. I told KR, I was the first person I think traded from one team to another, and I was with Dennis in '95 and then leading up to 2000. And you guys, for some reason, you were in some kind of a rules jam, and KR called, and we were living, Leslie and I and Meg, who was only 7 or 8. There's pictures of her too. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And KR called up and said, "Eamon." He always calls everybody by their last name. "Eamon, you've been traded. Dennis has run out of money, and I got a little money to pay you your exorbitant fee," which was not an exorbitant. I mean, it was not an exorbitant fee. But you've been traded to me. We need you down here in Auckland right away. When can you be here? Well, don't tell me that. Be here tomorrow. Buddha's going to call you and get the first flight you can. And luckily, the Formula One season was over. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I flew down there, and the late, great Bob Billingham. But again, not to belabor all that, but T. Hutch, you were great in that campaign. You are so modest and humble because you were a star. And I remember because we used to have the afterguard meetings in my office, and the green kites notwithstanding that kept blowing up.
Yeah,
KR talked about those. He said, he came clean the other night at this 25th reunion. He said, it's my fault. I'm the one who chose the green.
Yeah.
And of course, it had nothing to do with sunlight and photosynthesis. No. It was just the cloth speck was too light. And they kept blowing up because KR, of course, the adrenaline, the testosterone in that boy gets going. And he would luff anybody to kingdom come.
Well, you remember that race that we had where we blew out a spinnaker, and then Prada had all sorts of issues with there, but we got them locked, and we basically kept luffing them. They jibed, and we would jibe, and we had them locked, and we just kept luffing them until they relented. Spinnaker poles broken, and they had those Cuban fiber symmetrical spinnakers that were difficult because the race that we had Steffi Graf on board, they led around the bottom, but they shrimped and had the thing wrapped around the keel. And as we sailed by them to windward, she was sitting next to me, and one of their grinders was reaching over the side of the boat to try to clear it with their weed stick. And she pointed at Torben Grail, and man, did he go rogue. Just screaming. Like, yeah, Steph, you might not want to do that. He's going to hit you. So.
On a related, I wish I'd run that because I have that, those videos from those races. But this it's a tangential point, but it's an important point. And we've made this point on this show in the 9 years we've been doing this over and over and over again. But KR, it also came up just now with you, but it's also come up with KR, and that is good sailors. Whether I'm the only person I think that's been in America's Cup campaigns with the 3 C's, the D, and the E. Coots, KR, Connor, Dixon, and Ellison. And all of those people have and you, Terry, have astonishingly good recollections. And people have put this in the comments before, how good sailors can remember what they did on the second leg of some race 25 years ago, and with great precision.
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of a recollection, if you have that kind of a memory analytical on top of that, to be able to remember not only the mistakes, but also remember the things that worked.
Yeah.
And then analyze it, and you're analyzing it probably subconsciously over the years and years and years. And I think it just builds, and good sailors get better and better and better if they have a good memory.
Yeah. No, it amazes me.
Am I right, or is that complete BS?
I remember I remember a lot of the races, and that's but I think when you're in those moments and the moments, you know, I'm I'm really fortunate to have had the opportunity to be in those moments. And that series, the series in 2007, with Team New Zealand and Alinghi in the finals. You have those moments that you remember everything because you know how hard it is to get there,
Mhm.
and you know how hard it is to get back, and you don't want to forget any of it.
Widely regarded as the best series in an America's Cup, at least in the modern America's Cup ever. Better
That
than
Louis
any,
Vuitton final.
better than any match, better than any other Louis Vuitton semifinals or that final between Luna Rossa Prada and ourselves, America won, and everybody says that.
I know.
It just was
I agree.
a fabulous series. T.
agree.
Hutch, let's go on from that trip down memory lane to American Magic, and it was just confirmed here, as everybody knows, in October. American Magic confirmed it will not participate in the 38th America's Cup. What are at least the top line reasons for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first, what a great picture. You can't say enough good things about that boat that's there in front of you, and the designers and the sailors and the engineers and craftsmen that built that boat, because that's a special boat. And even though she didn't have her best results, I think what we produced there as a team is quite unique. In a very, without going too far into the weeds with it, I think in a very simple way, over the last 12 months, all the teams and the principals, the owners, were working in good faith to get to a point where there was a commercial agreement that allowed for sustainability in the America's Cup. And
financial sustainability.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, financial sustainability to create some longevity for the teams. And fortunately or unfortunately, there is, and I'd say fortunately, because Sail GP is building a structure that the intention was for the America's Cup to emulate what's going on there and to build solid financial commercial continuity. And the people that are involved are all very smart. In the past, Ernesto attempted to start this in the 2007 Cup, and he did a great job there progressing a commercial idea. And then we know the history that happened between then and now, and so ultimately, I think when we look at these things, I say we, Doug was carrying a lot of the load of the team if it was to go forward in AC 38. And he needed to be in a spot that he felt comfortable that he could bring investors along with him. And it's a risky proposition. The America's Cup is not for the faint of heart. And what is being proposed, and if we're fortunate, develops over AC 38 and then into AC 39, I would suspect that there's an opportunity for American Magic to come back. But it's a risky proposition, and so it felt prudent to sit this one out. And I think, as Doug has so eloquently and succinctly put it, representing the New York Yacht Club and American Magic and the U.S., we want to be good stewards to the America's Cup, and so it's not in no way, shape, or form is it anything other than risk management like we do on the race course, and let's see where it goes. But if we can support it in other ways, we will.
Okay, if anybody has questions, of course, we're monitoring the chat as always. And David Richard Morris is saying last high-end match racing in a cup. Yeah, he's talking again about 2000, 25 years ago. Yeah, I guess, Terry, it's a shame that you're not going to be involved because, of course, what it means until, as you know, I've held since forever. My submission is that until New York wins it back, it's not going to get fixed because I don't think Ernesto, I'd like to think Ernesto is going to fix it. Maybe he will. He's a New York member, and I know there's some potential cooperation between New York and Ernesto. The Italians, if they win it, who knows what they'll do. It'll be a huge deal.
It will be. I mean, that's the thing. The hard part is we've got a lot invested in this.
Yes.
There is time, there is talent, and there's treasure invested in this regatta for American Magic. And so the decision that we collectively took was not something that we took lightly. And that's that's truly the hardest part about it, because we want to compete. But as you're talking about the club, about New York, and the challenge of the deed of gift and some of the rules surrounding the cup, I mean, it makes it difficult. And that's probably why it's so hard to win. And Team New Zealand, for their part, they've earned their position. And, that's the opportunity that I think that everybody's trying to create. We all see it somewhat the same way. I'm not sure it's complete alignment, but I think everybody sees that there's a path forward. It's just how we get there is difficult.
Kimball Livingston is in the chat, Staff Commodore of St. Francis Yacht Club, meaning out here on the West Coast. As you know, Terry, Staff Commodore means past Commodore.
Yes.
Giving a talk to college sailors, I asked for a show of hands. How many of you followed the last AC? A few hands. How many follow Sail GP? About half the room. And of course, my argument, Terry, has been and Paul agrees, and I think John Marshall fervently agrees, as does Margarita Bottini Marshall, is that I think that we should let the America's Cup be the America's Cup, let it be the rarity factor once every 4 years, like the Olympics, like FIFA World Cup, and then whatever else goes on between the America's Cups, like Sail GP, like the RC44s, like the 52 Super Series, it just goes and people fill in and jump back and forth. But we'll see if this works. I have my doubts, and I agree with you. I think it was a very wise decision for Doug and the rest of you to stand down and to sit this one out, because I'm not even. I heard an interview. Alessandra Ponderese very well, and she just did an interview. Margarita Marshall and others, what is the American Magic boat for sale? Everybody's at. We'll get to that in a sec, Margarita. Alessandra Ponderese gave an interview to Sail T in Italy here. I have an English auto trans of it, but it's not that good. But she doesn't think, she was a lawyer for Luna Rossa. Now, Luis, your former lawyer, Luis Saenz, has moved over to Luna Rossa, as you know. And she's apparently not involved in this current cup. And I've known her since at least 2000, maybe before.
Yeah.
She's a very smart lady. She doesn't think this cup's going to happen, at least anytime soon. She thinks it's going to get postponed to 2029 for a number of reasons. And then she doesn't think that the America's Cup partnership will prevail.
Yeah.
Beyond this, it just, irrespective of, if the Kiwis win, it might prevail. What do you think, big picture, long term? Do you have a view on that? I don't want to get into the weeds too much. But.
No, that's okay. I haven't really considered a delay, and I'm not sure at this point what the delay achieves. I think Luna Rossa is propped up quite nicely right now with the hiring of Pete Burling, and the fact that we have not heard a lot out of them is a pretty good indication that they're probably nibbling away at the background and doing what they need to do to be successful in the regatta. Alessandro's very well connected, and so I wouldn't take what she says lightly. I think she's a very smart woman. She's the legal representation for the Super Series, and so she has a pretty good history and background to yachting in Europe and particularly in Italy. So if she's talking about that, there must be some relevance to it. And I view, when you compare it to other sports, I view what is happening now with Sail GP as the PGA Tour. Week in, week out, everybody's the best in the world are out there battling head to head on pretty level playing field. And so truly the sailors are coming to the surface, where, perhaps if the America's Cup is positioned as, the Ryder Cup, going forward in the future, where it is, like you point out, a unique standalone competition. There is very, very reasonable opportunities to promote it in that fashion.
Mm.
And
Well, and of course, the other problem is that's what the deed of gift prescribes, and it's difficult to get around the deed of gift. And Alessandra thinks they're never going to amend the deed of gift. So too Margarita Marshall, John Marshall, Hamish Ross, all of us that have been involved in that end. Let's get to some of these questions because they're rolling in here. Margarita Marshall and others are asking, is the AM boat, is it for sale?
I would say anything's for sale.
Yeah, right. At the right price. Exactly right. Huh?
Nice answer. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that I would always, you'd never say no to anything, and you're always respectful of the fact that particularly this boat, this team, the club that we represented, we'd always have to be very aligned with the deed of gift.
Hmm.
And so, if there were other U.S. entities that want to come out and have a look at our equipment and our gear, I mean, the hard part is so it's we're 17 months to the start of the challenge.
I know it's amazing.
No.
I mean, best of luck if you want to get involved at this point, because it's not, and that's I mean, I having been so fortunate to race one of these boats in AC-36 and then watch the development in AC-37 and see how these boats have evolved. I mean, they are incredible feats of engineering and technology. The boats are truly impressive, and the potentially the challenge that is being faced right now is this is not something that you just step into and think that you're going to go sailing,
go yachting.
I mean,
Exactly.
Our plan, had we considered entering into AC-38, was going to be, we were going to start sailing this time next year, and we were going to spend the better part of 6 months working on Patriot and getting it to a spot that we thought it could be competitive while respecting the rules that were going to be in place. But that stuff doesn't just happen. There is an army behind the 5 people now that are going to go racing this boat, and these things just don't hit the water and go. I mean, it is an operation that is very detailed oriented and takes a high level of not only financial commitment, but a high level of intellectual understanding and a high level of skill when the sailors get out on the water.
Terry, have the boats gone too far? Because you're outlining exactly what is an amazing thing about these campaigns, but so many people, including KR, he put it very succinctly, Hamish Ross, lots of other people have said, we've gone too far. We now have whack-a-mole racing where the helmets are just below. And this next one, as you know, we've gone from no stored energy other than by way of a shock cord or some bungee cord or springs and winches. We've gone from no stored energy permitted in the cup or in the sport to now where it's all stored energy, and the only human input in these boats in AC-38 is going to be on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And have we gone too far? You sailed the IACC era. You've been on 12s before.
Yeah.
A lot of people think we've just gone way, way too far, and that's why people don't relate to the current edition and the previous.
It's a really good point. Paul and I were talking last week about some of the stuff that America One Racing is doing, and we were talking about whether or not sailing has lost its soul a little bit.
That was his words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does make you think about that. I will say, having just come from a week in Pensacola, spending time with the A1 Racing foiling camp and the sailors that are current generation sailors, they're incredible athletes, they're engineers, they're great sailors. The disconnect, I'm not sure, have we gone too far? It's the amount of cost associated with going to race this boat. And again, it's not, the boat is an incredible technological piece of equipment. To get it out on the water and to properly race it, I mean, it's you're going to have to leverage the farm and then some.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the crux of it. And, the the cost caps that were being described and defined to be implemented, these are good, steps towards commercializing the America's Cup. Every single person in the meetings that I was in that sat at the table that came from it with a F1 background, they will categorically accept the idea and state that the best thing to happen to F1 was the cost cap, because whether or not perception and reality are exactly the same, it levels the playing field. The best teams still win, the best drivers still win, and they're probably figuring out ways to be better. And yet, it's still a lot of money, and the America's Cup is somewhat the same way. So I'm not as far in the it's gone too far corner, but I can see that it's gone too far for what it costs. And if I had my druthers, if you said to me, what would you do if you waved your magic wand? We raced 7 72-foot boats at the Maxi Worlds in Bellamente's class, and the racing's incredible.
Exactly. And that's what
those boats,
a lot of people are arguing for exactly that. Let's have a box rule 72 or 82 or tell me what, and get back to where we have 10. Well, the high water mark was 87, a little before your time, but we had 17 teams down there in Frio, 13 challengers and 4 defenders, and lots of eyeballs, because when you get a lot of countries and a lot of teams, you get more eyeballs, and more sponsors brings more eyeballs. All the things the 52 Super Series is doing so well.
Yeah, and so I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not all the way there, because I've been fortunate enough to race the boats and be on the boats and see them in action. And
meaning the AC boats.
Yeah, the 75s, and so I'm not all the way there, but at the same time, the cost is so prohibitive that until there's meaningful ways to control it, you're probably going to end up with 2 or 3 teams.
By the way, Paul was highly complimentary of you. He mentioned that you were running a foiling campaign when he was on his second time, when he was on with us last Friday. That was a great thing. And I think it's a great America One Racing. Yeah. Thank God, because U.S. Sailing is it's as the late great Commodore Harry Anderson would say, it's screwed up to a fairly well, and hopefully Charlie will fix it and they'll come good. But if they don't, America One Racing anyway, regardless, America One Racing and the New York Sailing Foundation and so on are going to hopefully help our Olympic program big time. T. Hutch, let's move on. If we should, anything else about the current cup that you want to say? Or the past cups, and then let's go talk about Pensacola, because you got some cool stuff going on in Pensacola.
Yeah, I mean, I it's hard, when you think about, when I think about again the time and the talent and the treasure that Hap and Doug and Roger and AC 36 committed, all the people behind the American Magic team that were committed to success in these regattas. It's, when I reflect back on the sporting side of it, I still, it's hard to not feel hard done by.
And Hap Fouth and lots of others.
Yeah, Hap and Doug and Roger, they were just incredible team members, and we were so fortunate to have them, and we were fortunate to have to represent the New York Yacht Club. Again, as a sailor, that was the 3rd time. This year was a third cycle that I had represented New York, and it's it's disappointing to not have done better on the water, because that's in the end that's where you got to put up or shut up.
Well, we'll let Commodore Harrington put the final underline on this. She said, "I'm still a fan." Terry, there's Claire Harrington weighing in. There are a lot of questions and comments here we'll get to. I'm going to ask Terry those with some slides here in a moment. Let's ask him, though, next. Terry, what's going on in the Port of Pensacola, in and around this building? And for those of you who are geographically challenged, I should just tell everybody, because we have a lot of non-Americans on here who may not know where Pensacola is. It's in Florida's Panhandle. You decide whether you want to call it the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. But it's about a 3-hour drive east of New Orleans, about a 2.5-hour drive to Tallahassee, which is the state capital in the Panhandle. And near the border, I think right about here is the border between Florida and Alabama, and then New Orleans, Louisiana over there a bit more. And if we carry on here and look at a little closer up view, you've got the Port of Pensacola, you've got the terrific Pensacola Yacht Club is here, and then this big naval air station as well. Lots of water, and you can sail inside in flat water and good breeze, the sea breeze days. The yacht club is Pensacola Yacht Club, which is a great club, is right about here near Sanders Beach. And the Naval Air Station down here in this big area, beautiful neighborhood over here in Gulf Breeze, yada, yada. But you've got big new things going on, including in this building. There was an article just a couple months ago, and I guess you've made quite good progress since then, but the Pensacola News Journal says American Magic headquarters will be much more than a sailing team. Aerospace manufacturing is coming. And Terry, you also you helped Sail GP out a lot after they shipped their boats around after they were broken, and you fixed them up there at your base in Pensacola.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that headline there probably sums it up perfectly. The team's development of the relationship with the city of Pensacola. We're so fortunate to have the support of Mayor Reeves and the local city officials. The Triumph Board supported the city of Pensacola to finish off this building for American Magic and for our high performance center that we have going on there. But the high performance it's not just sailing high performance. The facility is going to evolve into design, engineering, and manufacturing. And then, we also have the great opportunity to continue on with the sailing development and really what we can achieve there in support of our Olympic athletes. Right now, the Pensacola Yacht Club with Commodore Simpkins and past Commodore Pace, these guys have been absolute legends in helping us, I say us, American Magic, but helping the Olympic athletes to share their facility at the Pensacola Yacht Club with the ability to train and to debrief and to get better day in and day out, in the coming, really in the coming months. So right now they're finishing off a WASP clinic. They have another one in January and February. And then at the end of March, they have the WASP Pre-Worlds and then the WASP World Championship, which is going to be over, I would suspect north of 120 boats.
Wow.
At Regatta, which is great. And so, but all this has come as we've built this foundational relationship with the city and the facility itself. Tyson Lamont, who's the team's chief operational officer, and he's the president of American Magic Services. There's Ty there. He and the team on the ground there in Pensacola have done an incredible job at finishing out this facility. But what we're learning is there's an absolute demand for quality, high-end, America's Cup quality manufacturing in the aerospace world. And it's been a great segue for not only the manufacturing side, but as they start pulling back into design and engineering component, we can build quite a good little network or team there on the ground. And we have a commitment to the city of Pensacola to make sure that we meet a job count over the coming years. And we take that seriously. We have a commitment to not only Pensacola State College and UWF, where we're working in partnership to basically bring in interns to start teaching them the skill sets of the design, the manufacturing, and the engineering.
UWF, University of Western Florida.
Yeah, and Pensacola State College. But again, some some of the things that you see happening there, and inside of that, there's also the GL52s will come back and race. The Club Swans, the Nodders are going to go and do their opening series there next year, and so there's other racing that's coming to the area specifically because of American Magic being there and helping really just open the door to the Bay. But the Bay, the community really, it sells itself. I mean, that picture that you had up of the Bay and the chart, that Fort Pickens State Park is an unobstructed low, barrier reef basically to the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, so that whole green area there at the bottom of the screen, there's no buildings, there's nothing on that, and it truly makes this one of the more unique places in the country to go sailing. It's deep, and it's a deep water port, so it's easy to get boats there. And if you decide you want to do any different type of racing, obviously the 52s come in on a truck. So, I'm excited to see where this goes. And when we contemplate what's next for American Magic, the shift is continue to be in high performance, whether we're on the water or behind a computer screen developing some cool widget for something to go into a rocket somewhere. And that's when you contemplate the America's Cup, we all see the boats in the end, but those boats don't happen without incredible thinking and clever thinking. And so, that to me is the exciting part. Everybody thinks about the sailing and the racing and the stuff that goes on there, but that's such a small part of the America's Cup. And so what we're going to be able to do with our facility on top of the sailing and the support of Olympic development is we're going to be able to support the intellectual properties that go into designing and manufacturing that, over the next couple of decades should be game changing, not only in marine manufacturing, but in other areas as well.
Well, look, the comments are rolling in here. I told you we'd only keep an hour or so, and we're already an hour and almost 20 minutes in. Rob Fry, do you know Rob Fry? That's Leonard Takahashi's dad.
All right.
Down in Auckland. And he's saying it was a privilege to have Terry show Leonard and I through the America One base in Auckland. Thanks again, Terry. So that was a long time ago. Alan Long is saying about Pensacola, one hears it's a great sailing area. Ed Worley looks like the perfect building and skills to build the next generation. He's a big fan of the AC of TP-72s, as is Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, who says he invented the concept, which I believe he did. I take him at his word. And then the Aussies are weighing in here. Dolly DeVola saying Tyson Lamond is in that photo. Another Aussie who is doing great things in sailing. Fritz Mueller, who's a neighbor there and way down the state down in Miami. And Alistair Murray also saying Tyson Lamond, the Cruising Yacht Club of South Australia, is proud of him. Chris, Chris Dewar. He's saying, given your stellar collegiate career, Terry, at Old Dominion and subsequent rise through Grand Prix and the AC, how do you see the progression from college sailing now into Grand Prix sailing? Is it a different path, a different mindset? Is this where America One Racing is leading the way?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think that, the college sailing is still an incredibly relevant piece of the Olympic development. The kids that come out of the college sailing, one of our, I'm thinking about the word initiative. I'm not sure that's the right word, but we need to connect the dots for the kids that are coming out of college to the Olympics and the farm system that connects in between the two. And you have a great resource there with college sailing, and people will say, it doesn't do the boat speed development, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. Okay, but what it does is it is repetition, it's starting, it's small fleet tactics, it's so many things that I actually, from what you hear, the Olympics will become, because they need the need to make things more exciting, more televised. It sounds like the Olympics are actually headed towards more of a college style format.
Exactly. Good point.
And I think, boy, we have to, and there's a massive opportunity here. There's such a great opportunity for U.S. sailing and U.S. sailors to connect the dots from the collegiate sailing all the way through to the Olympic program. You know, that what's happened, I would advocate at U.S. sailing with Charlie stepping into the CEO role there. I mean, we're so lucky to have that. And, you know, Charlie brings success on the race course. He brings his Brown education. He gets the strengths and weaknesses of any sailing program, and so, you know, over the course of time, you know, as a sailing community, you know, America One Racing, Sailing Foundation in New York, the Schoonmaker Foundation, how all these entities are supporting the athlete development is just awesome. And where we have to get reconnected, I think, is figuring out where the national governing body role, where their part of the pie is to help support the Olympics.
Exactly right.
And you know, the pie's not very big, so we have to be very deliberate. We have to be incredibly cognizant that, you know, other countries are beating us in a game that we should be successful at, because, you know, as we start with those college sailors and work them through the farm league all the way up to winning Olympic medals, we need to provide a platform that allows them to execute that. And there is you know, U.S. sailing has a role in that. You know, if we can let the bygones be bygones and move forward, I think we need to continue to evaluate the needs of each entity and how they help support the results of the athletes.
Well, the needs of the entities I don't care much about, and I care about, as you just said, the needs of the athletes, and then figure out how they're best served. And I think having strong, and look, you know, as you know, I ran U.S. sailing back in the time we had the most successful Olympic run, not just 84, but before and after that. Yeah. And part of that was because we kept U.S. sailing, the corporate body, the entity, out of the way of the Sam Merricks and the others who ran Olympic sailing. And that's what I hope Charlie does with U.S. sailing, turn as much money over to America One Racing, to the Schoonmaker Foundation, to the other foundations. But again, let's get into the weeds, because there are so many comments in here. And you're, I think, spot on as usual, Terry. And there's Julia, you always remind us to go back and read.
Absolutely.
The comments. And man, are they rolling in here, and fantastic ones. By the way, it was you gave Rob Fry and Leonard Takahashi a tour, not of the America One base, but of the American
Well,
Magic.
Leo, he's an incredibly talented sailor, and it's been awesome to watch his progression and being the flight controller with Pete and those guys.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into this next segment, because I asked you if you would mind, this is a lightning round, give us a quick comment about each of these America's Cup teams, whether or not you think they're going to race. Are the French going to be in or not? Because I hear Mr. Dubois is not amused with what's going on.
Yeah, those guys, they have a hard row to hoe there. I mean, that's the entry point into this next regatta is quite expensive. And so I'm going 30-70 that they're in the regatta.
Okay. Now, I have reported on this show that the Swiss, that Alinghi, not with Red Bull's out, but that Ernesto is coming back in, that in fact he's filed a challenge. I don't know, Terry, whether he's filed a challenge because he thinks that gives him standing in court if he wants to fight this ACP, which I think is part of, but he may also be wanting to go have another go at this. He misses it by all accounts. He's a New York Yacht Club member. What do you think?
I'm going 50-50.
That he follows through.
Yeah, I mean, having spent time with Ernesto this past year in meetings and stuff like that, I mean, he is incredibly smart. He's incredibly passionate about the America's Cup. And you know, I think, like we all were individually with our teams, we weren't all that happy with how we performed on the water. And so, you know, for somebody who's had such great America's Cup success, you know, if he was in it, I wouldn't be surprised. And if he wasn't, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Well, he's got to find a boat. His boat's broken. His masts are
Yeah.
broken. And, of course, they got to use old boats. Well, if he came to you, Al, you already answered the question. I'm not going to belabor the point, but you said everything's for sale at the right price. Is that right? Is that a fair paraphrasing?
Yeah, I think that's a fair paraphrasing.
Okay. Luna Rossa, apparently no
Yeah.
longer Prada. Well, it's Luna Rossa, it's Prada, but I don't think Pirelli, I don't know if they're going to be involved.
Yeah. I think 100% they're in.
100%.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
And it's hard not to turn your back on the Italian style and flavor that one would have with that cup.
Well, we'd all love to see them win it, right? Because,
yeah.
I mean, we'd love to see them win it because there were some assertions by Magnus the Magnificent and a few others that if the Brits finally won the cup after all these years, that it would be the biggest thing in the history of the America's Cup. I disagree. I think if these guys win it, Terry, that'll be the biggest thing that'll ever happen to the Cup. The country of Italy will go crazy. Absolutely crazy.
The game of perseverance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel so sorry for him. He's put so much effort and money in it and really would like to do it.
Well, we'll just see if he's
I
not.
don't feel sorry for him, Julia.
You don't?
No, that's sport.
That's sport.
No, I mean, you gotta, but
Mr. Lipton?
well, yeah, I mean, I would say that, and this is a little bit of self-reflection, that winning or not winning the America's Cup, there is a component of timing to it.
Yeah.
And when you look at teams that have been successful, the time has been right for them to win the regatta. And they've created that time. So there's a balance in there. And from a personal experience perspective, I'm not so sure the timing, history will show that timing was not right to win the regatta for the last 2 cycles that I've been involved with. And so, when you contemplate that thought with Luna Rossa and the moves that they've made and the people that they've hired, they're creating the timing opportunity for themselves. It's in Naples. The defender, they'll give up a lot not having Pete. Those shoes are difficult shoes to fill. But as we learned in 2007, when Russell left Alinghi, they were able to fill the shoes. But this is a different boat, and this is a different caliber of engineering mindset to the boat. And you'll never ever question how talented Russell was, because he was so good at racing those boats. And yet, filling Pete's shoes, I think, are going to be a much harder ask.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And speaking of filling shoes, it's sounding more and more like Ben's on the outside looking in. I've got a long article from the Times of London today about Ben and the reflections about Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. But Sir Ben is maybe on the outside looking in at Ineos. What do you think? What are you hearing?
I'd be surprised at that, quite honestly. I have not, since we have made our announcement, I've been pretty intentional to not get into it too much, because you vacillate between the disappointment and that we all have competed, and so everybody knows when they're in the game and they're the adrenaline that you get from that. And so I haven't been paying attention, but I'd be surprised that Ben is his talents and his ability to get these programs going in a good direction, and then to show up when it counts. They would be losing a big talent if he was not with them.
Well, I think he's going to be with them, but Peter Dubins has taken the thing over and is funding it. And, he's brought in Ian Walker as the CEO, as you well know.
Yeah.
And it remains to be seen what's going to happen with Ben going forward. So we shall see.
Yeah.
It sounds like you think they're in. I think they're in.
Yeah. Ben's done a great job with his Sail GP team in handing the reins off to Dylan there. I mean, they've won 7 of the 11 regattas this year.
Yep.
And they have to be 9th or better in the fleet racing to qualify for the final.
this weekend.
This weekend coming up. And so, I think, what they've done there, if you contemplate what we need or our long-term vision for Olympic sailing, what they've done there and how Dylan's come up through the Olympic program and Olympic success to this platform, and the opportunity that Ben has given to those sailors, to Hannah, who's done an incredible job. I mean, it's what you would expect to happen, but there's one person that's been critical in that, and that's Ben. And so,
you think Dylan and maybe Paul Goodison will be driving for this team next time?
I would be surprised at Goody. Goody's an incredibly talented sailor, and he was a great teammate, but I would be surprised at that. But I could be completely wrong too.
Okay, well, while we're at it, how about Team New Zealand? Is it going
100% in?
100% in. And do you think it comes down to Team New Zealand against Luna Rossa in the finals?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. That's a great match, and the things, and we were touching about on this earlier, but the complexity of this boat and the engineers that go into designing the systems for these boats. The way the current class rule and the structure of the class rule is, there's been some great concessions, and at the same time, there has been a clear competitive edge is to Team New Zealand by the way the class rule is, and that's okay. I mean, that's you win the regatta, you protect that, and you can't compliment them enough for how well designed and how well thought out their boat was in the last America's Cup. But all the things that you can't see, I would say, is where the competitive advantages come from, and the control systems inside that boat.
And they're already at it with AC-40 sailing, down in Auckland. And we'll show a picture of that in a moment. One more question, but before we get to that, just to say, I think this is a great bottom line, a great wrap-up comment from Fritz Mueller. This is really great to get Terry's insight. It's deep, and one knows why he is always at the pinnacle of the game. Nice comment. Nice comment from Fritz. I think that's exactly right. And T. Hutch, the question everybody wants to know is there a Sail GP in your future, in Doug DeVos's future, American Magic's future? And if so, if you think there is, Greg Norman's asking that, Margarita Marshall, lots of people. What do you think about Sail GP and American Magic?
I'm cautiously optimistic, but let's see.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough.
I think it's a logical place, but again, it's another investment that needs to be well thought through, and it needs to fit the investment structure that Doug has in place to be, something that's meaningful, that achieves a couple different things. That we can build the sailing development, we can build the sporting development, we can build the business development. If you executed one of these teams well, and you were able to build a consortium of sponsors that you could cross from Sail GP to the America's Cup, then you're really starting to build on something that can benefit. It certainly, from a U.S. perspective, it can benefit American sailing in a really powerful way. And the thing that, and this is my personal opinion, so I separate a little bit of American Magic, but when you contemplate what we're doing with the facility and the manufacturing and design, this is a really good sporting way to complement those activities. But like everything, it comes at a cost, and so we have to be cautious on how we proceed with those things, because you need to see that it's going to be a way that it can pay for itself. But I mean, I'm a complete fan of it. I love watching it, and it's great to see what Russell and Larry and the team behind Sail GP. It's great to see what they're pulling off.
Exactly.
It's changed our sport, and I think Sail GP is probably the best thing that could have happened to the America's Cup, because it shows from a commercial perspective the potential.
I just hope that the America's Cup, now let Sail GP be Sail GP,
Yes,
and the America's Cup comes back to being what it was what we all grew up, I've put a lot, as you said, time and energy. We all have since 1980 in my case, and John Marshall since the 70s, and Gary Jobson since the 70s. And I think if we drag the America's Cup back to the way it was, back to the future, and let SailGP be SailGP and bring the America's Cup up to the Ryder Cup or to the Masters of golf. I thought you were going to use Masters as the analogy.
Well, the thing about the Ryder Cup, though, is that what the competition actually stands for, and how it's
international teams,
international teams and stuff like that. And I can't. What we do know about SailGP, what you just see is how committed everybody is, and the vision that they have to continue to promote the sport of sailing, and how they're applying lessons learned in F1, how they're applying lessons learned really from Russell's experience in the America's Cup. The fact that your entry into it is for your right to participate in the regatta and race in the regatta. They're alleviating a lot of burden from teams of having to own the equipment and the assets. Some will look at it and say, oh, well, you don't create value. But in actuality, the value is in the league. The value is in the personalities. And if you compare that to F1, I mean, it's impressive how they're they really they go deep into the personalities of the drivers and the teams and the machines behind the drivers. We were fortunate enough to spend the weekend with the Williams team in Austin, and it was so cool to see how they took care of the customers or the supporters or the sponsors that supported Williams, and how that all happened. And it was very similar to how we tried to achieve it with the American Magic base, but it's a one-hit wonder. And then you see what they're doing SailGP in the 14 weekends throughout the season that you can provide these opportunities. I mean, it's truly a way to build the commercial side of our sport.
Absolutely. And that's what I did in Formula One, was that side of it, was representing the title sponsor, basically taking a lot of guests to all the Formula One races, from government, from sponsors, from, on and on. Terry, terrific stuff. No surprise. Delighted to have you on. And Julia, any last thoughts or questions?
No, I think that we still have them.
Yeah, indeed. Terry, final thought?
Well, we appreciate everything you all are doing for the sport, and that's, I think, the honesty in which you present things continues to be a real value to all the sailors, and to get the type of feedback that you get, maybe it's a little bit of, again, self-reflection, these opportunities that certainly have had this summer racing with different people, but hearing these thoughts and listening to what people that are out there in the grassroots, these are important points, and they're important ways to take our sport forward. Ultimately, we all have this emotional investment in something that we love, and are
just trying to make it a little better.
Well, that's good stuff. So you guys have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks. You too, T. Hutch.
You too.
Look at all these nice comments. Hutch was a great guest. Thanks, Tom. Super great interview. Joe Holtzman up in Colorado is saying, and we'll leave the bottom line again, the thought to Jody Shields. He says, people don't follow equipment. They follow teams and personalities.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Good stuff. T. Hutch, thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. Thanks for coming on. And you and your family have a very happy Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
A week.
Take care.
It never ends. Ciao for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Julie, that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Did we get an answer, you think, out of Terry? It sounded pretty positive.
Yeah, we have a leaning.
Yeah, I think they're working real hard to get into SailGP. Greg Norman asserted in the chat that he's up in Michigan. He's close to the DeVos clan and to what's going on. Mm-hmm. He asserts that there's already a contract. But I'm not sure I quite agree with Greg on that. But I do think that if the SailGP, the U.S. SailGP team, they're asking way too much money for that franchise.
Right.
And when that price comes down, as inevitably it will, then I think you're going to see. And Russell doesn't, from what I'm hearing, does not want to have two American teams. He's got so much interest from other countries. He wants to have one team per country.
Right.
So far, he's managed to do that, and I suspect he will maintain that and somehow work a team from the current owners over to Mr. DeVos and Terry and so on.
Yeah, that would be good.
But, what do I know? I'm just a simple country boy from Michigan.
Yes, you're
Living here in San Francisco with my landlady, Julia Vedekint,
well.
the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, who keeps us all on the straight and narrow. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got a lot more show left. We got 20 minutes to cover a lot of stuff, including the Coaching Corner with John Emmett, who sent a short but snappy submission. And let's get to John's the coaching. Where's his theme music?
Yeah.
There's his theme music, Julia.
Okay.
The Coaching Corner with John Emmett for today. We're all together.
Working together. That's the topic of today's Coaching Corner. Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Let's get into it. Well, I have to put my comments out there and say that by working together, we can achieve a lot more than working separately. And this is true in all aspects of life. So if you have, for example, America One looking after one particular coach, one particular sailor, and then you have US Sailing looking after another coach and another sailor, you're really wasting resources, especially if your ultimate aim is performance and only one sailor can go to Olympic Games. So much better, form a squad, work together, everybody can learn, and all the resources are pulled together, which is what the majority of other countries are doing. Now, maybe I make myself unpopular by saying this because effectively I could be putting a coach out of work, but you have a much more robust program there with everybody working together. And the problem is, if you don't do this, you're already at a disadvantage to all those other countries who've got a combined program where they're pooling all their resources. And I think the same applies for me to World Sailing. I know a lot of people are critical, myself included, but it's our governing body and we need to work with them. Otherwise, it feels like being on an aeroplane and wishing bad luck to the pilot of that aeroplane. So today's Coaching Corner is about working together.
Working together, I think I agree completely with John, with Mr. Positive, Mr.
Yes.
Positivity, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be constructively critical of things when they are croutonic. How's that for using alliteration?
Yes.
Constructively croutonic criticism. No, constructive criticism when there's croutonicism. How's that?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gee. That's the Coaching Corner with John Emmett. Get to the front of the fleet. And we always end with his comment about and his support and pushing hard as he and the Aussies and others are to get Paralympic sailing back into the Olympics Brisbane 2032 as a demonstration event. So we hope we get that. Let's go together. TEAM, team. Together, everyone achieves more. Clayton Emily saying. Okay, I won't. Jody's comment that is that a talking teapot? And he guess he'd never seen John Emmett in a stocking cap before. You call it they call it a toque in Canada.
Oh yeah,
a stocking cap. Yes,
stocking cap.
Okay, T. Hutch, what a great guest.
He was really good.
Great stuff. Okay, America's Cup, the AC-38 Cup date as promised. Here it is. And first of all, Yacht Racing Life today. Great. If you're not a subscriber, I commend it to you. It's like Magnus's publication. Magnus does podcasts with him, with Justin Chisholm. Justin's Yacht Racing Life email today. It's a website, it's a newsletter, it's a podcast, but his newsletter today says, AC-38, still more questions than answers. The information blackout currently engulfing the America's Cup continues to frustrate sailing fans around the world. Teams, too, by the way. Mm-hmm. AC enthusiasts are understandably hungry for new information about the upcoming 38th edition, which, as Terry Hutchinson just pointed out, is not very far in the future. But despite a surfeit of questions answers are few and far between. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the article that I've referred to several times today, the Times of London, big article, Ben Ainsley, the headline, Ratcliffe and I achieved a lot. I hope we have a drink one day. This is an article done for and about Ben as really a promo for this weekend's Sail GP. Yeah. But of course, the topic that everybody in England, still in the UK, wants to hear about is the America's Cup. The subhead, one of the most decorated sailors in history, talks about the acrimonious split with Ineos and why he plans, get this, he plans on keeping his feet dry on dry land when he leads the next America's Cup bid. So you heard it here first, and now you're hearing it in the Times today. This is a long article, Julia. I'm just going to do a few paragraphs, excerpts from that article. It is fitting that Sir Ben Ainslie is looking over a neon-lit Thames, and remembering the time Tower Bridge officials gave him the hurry up as he fought light winds to get his catamaran through the raised spans. The sponsor who was on board lost a boot to the murky depths that day. He smiles at the memory of a faraway publicity stunt, but in more recent times, plenty of troubled water has gone under the bridge. Quote, the last 12 months have been really intense off the water, he admits.
Mm-hmm.
Not one for melodrama. When Ainslie makes remarks like that, you can be sure he means it. I can't read anymore, Julia. This time last year, he was still reflecting on taking a British boat into the America's Cup match for the first time in 60 years and winning a race in it, meaning the match, for the first time in 90 years. Ultimately, New Zealand, the defending champions, as you all know, had too much in Barcelona, but it was a significant achievement, which made it a shock when news came in April of an acrimonious split with billionaire funder Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the Ineos mogul. Quote unquote, astounded was the official Ainslie line, and confusion raged about who would be the challenger of record, the team leading the challenge for the next cup, or an ownership of the partnership's intellectual property. Who gets the boat? Who gets the IP? In April, Ineos pulled out of its parallel quest. Now Ainslie, 48, is leading Athena Racing, representing the challenger, the Cowes-based Royal Yacht Squadron, again, as you all know, into what will be a radically different-looking America's Cup off the Neapolitan coast in 2027. Gone are the cyclers, the muscle men providing power from static bikes. In are women, with each boat committed to having at least one female sailor, as well as a guest spot for an influencer, sponsor, or journalist. 3 of the 5 sailors on board must be nationals of the country they're representing. No new hulls and a wider budget cap of $75 million, which has already gone away, as we've reported previously. So we'll see what really happens, but just a couple other paragraphs from this article. In the list of British sporting giants, Ainslie is on solid ground, but he has also become a team leader, a CEO, a businessman, and a relentless phone banger. After the politics and protocol, does he still harbor a desire to be on the water off Naples in 2027? Quote, I mean, never say never, he adds. Quote, I'm conscious not to write it off, but that's not my goal. I kind of see my contribution to the team being more off the water than on it. But if for whatever reason I need to get my boots back on, I'll do it. But Dylan's doing a great job. Giles Scott, Terry didn't agree with this, but Giles Scott is doing a great job with Canada. So Ben seemed to hint that maybe Giles was in the mix as well. We need to find the next generation of youngsters coming through, and I think there's a few really talented sailors in their early 20s who can hopefully make that stepping stone. So here is the promo part of this article toward the end about this weekend's Sail GP. There's much to talk about, but first things first, and Ainslie is this week trying to oversee another landmark victory over New Zealand. Sail GP is billed as sailing's Formula One, quote, the most exciting racing on water, unquote. And Ainslie's Emirates GBR team lead the New Zealand entry by 3 points going into the decider in Abu Dhabi. 12 teams will do battle, but Australia and Spain, Julia,
Yes.
are the only others who can still win overall. So there are some interesting excerpts from that long article. I found it on the website here in the States. I don't know if it's behind a paywall in the UK. I don't know if it shows up in the paper till tomorrow morning, but it's a long, big article. I think J.P. Morgan, who's one of Ben's sponsors, I think that's where the interview took place. And again, I think it's a promo for this weekend's Sail GP. Now, on Radio New Zealand yesterday, the same kind of a thing. It's almost like they were ginning up some news here to get some ink before Abu Dhabi. Peter Burling says control Team New Zealand wanted over him was just crazy. And I hear from Richard Gladwell that this has been all over. Last night's news down under, it was all over. It's a big deal that, now Peter Burling is finally speaking out about the divorce he had from Grant Dalton and Emirates Team New Zealand. In just a couple of paragraphs out of a longer interview, Burling was asked if Team New Zealand wanted him to stop competing in Sail GP. Quote, "It wasn't put in the words where you can't do Sail GP. It was more just a very large period of absolute uncertainty where they have full control over my time, essentially." Bit of a word salad there, Pete. Burling was also asked if he thought it was fair. Quote, "Well, it's sport. Sport is a reasonably cutthroat game, and certain people expect certain things of others. And if you're not happy to do that, then you've got to pick a different path," Burling said. Quote, "I'm really excited to compete at home and abroad with the Blackfoils and continue to do that. With the other path, I don't think it would have been reasonable." Possible, thank you. "Definitely thought the departure was a little bit strange, how it all unfolded and how quickly it unfolded when I was away on a family holiday, not even in New Zealand." But again, what I've heard, and I've confirmed this, Richard Gladwell is hearing similar things. Hamish Ross is hearing similar things. And I don't think we're talking to each other. I think each of us has our own little sources. Some of us even have talked with a horse's mouth or nearly so.
Yes.
I think that Pete wanted a lot of money. I think he wanted 10, 11, 12 million Kiwi to continue on with the team. And Grant Dalton, when they sat down and had their come to Jesus meeting, and Grant Dalton said, "You want me to pay you 3 or 4 times what I'm paying Dan Bernasconi, who's the design chief and, makes the boats and makes the boats fast, and you can't even start very well?" Okay, I may have added that in. But I think that they just had a difference of opinion on money, and Mr. Dalton probably wanted to use something as an excuse to push Pete out the door, and Pete maybe also wanted to get out the door and go do his own thing. So that's some news from down under. The other news from down under is that, and Richard Gladwell's been writing, he wrote a big article about that RNZ interview and a lot of more background than I've just given you. But go read Sail World and Richard Gladwell. But then Gladwell's also reporting more images from the Kiwis' paired AC-40 training session, which has been going on last week and this. They are light years ahead of everybody with the possible exception of Luna Rossa, who are doing similar training in Cagliari in southern Sardinia.
Yes.
This team is going to be so strong again. And now there's a lot of chat about being influencers and getting that ride as the 6th man on the boat. Dolly Davola says, "I'm working hard on becoming an influencer so I can get a ride on the Cup. So far, all I've got is influence." Sail GP has gone into full TikTok mode. Parks, Jody Shields also saying Parks and Goobs are missing from that promo photo. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so that's some latest America's Cup news, but I think they're really all pointing to and trying to get some influence and attention toward this weekend in Abu Dhabi. By the way, our Friday show, Julia, will be a promo.
Great.
All about Sail GP. We probably won't focus on much else, but we will do a show Friday.
Good.
Some of us, no rest for the wicked, at least for me. You're not wicked.
Not lately.
Not lately. Alistair Murray. Now, speaking of Tom Slingsby, this is a timely interview because he caught up with Tom Slingsby in Australia, and Tom's headed to, he's probably in Abu Dhabi by now, but catch this.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fosey. This is Alistair with AAAA. That's Alistair's Awesome Aussie Anecdote, Tom. Very nice. For Sailing Illustrated. And I mentioned to the Fosey, which is the Friends of Sailing Illustrated, that I was having lunch with you today. Yeah. And I said, what would you ask him? What would you want to know? And they gave me a few things they wanted me to put to you. One is the move towards sort of sudden death high stakes finals in like Olympic sailing. I mean, you've won a gold medal, and you got to build up your point score during the regatta. Then you go out in the medal race, whether you need to sail or whether you don't. What do you think of the attempts to make the last race all that counts at the end and sudden death?
I'm not a fan at all.
No.
I feel like there's a place for it. Sail GP and areas where it's you're obviously racing and you're doing everything you can for your country, but you're a little in the entertainment.
Yeah.
You're there putting on a show as well, but we're trying our best. The Olympics to me is the purest sort of form of sailing, and the best person has to win. I'm not all for making everything foiling. I'm there for a really good sort of quality type of boats with good range for different sizes of people and competitive boats that can be raced well. And I'm for a format that just makes sure the best person wins. These people don't compete for money. They compete for their goal and their dream to win an Olympic gold medal. And I think that the best person has to win at the Olympics. And when they brought in medal races in my day, I remember, to me, I didn't like that. But it was okay because if you were good enough, you could get to such a points lead in the medal race that it was very hard for you to lose a race. Now these days I seen some of the submissions where sort of winner takes all, and that poor
the English girl,
Emma, who was just so far ahead and ended up with a bronze medal. I found that so unfair. And I think that it's got to come back more to its roots and more to the best person has to win. And we've got to put on a fair competition to make sure that happens.
I think there's going to be a lot of people watching this that'll agree with you, Tom. Thanks for that. And sorry about the background noise, but we've just been at a bit of a party. We had a great lunch together. I'll tell them more about the lunch later and what it led to. And by the way, a cameraman is a CEO of Australian Sailing and a multiple gold medal himself. Malcolm's behind the camera.
Nice, baby.
Good on you, Mel. A couple other quick ones. The America's Cup, New York Yacht Club pulled out of it and you were aligned with them and you were sailing with them. What are you going to do now?
I'm still unsure what I'm going to be doing. There's still some teams talking about potentially entering, and I've been talking to them. I'm unsure at this stage. A week ago I could have told you I think I'm going this way, and then this week it's a little bit different, and so I still love the America's Cup. I think it's a great competition and great event, and I'd love to be a part of it again.
Is it heading in the right direction? What's happening at the moment?
This isn't the right direction right now. This limbo and a year of, obviously there's things happening behind the scenes, but a year of no racing, and I think they had so much momentum after Barcelona. If they had an AC40 event schedule for 2025, March, May, July, where we're just knocking out with, I think all the teams would have signed up and just kept going and kept rolling, kept the momentum and the hype around. But that wasn't the case. But hopefully this partnership agreement, if it's a good and a fair one, teams will sign up, and then that will create a framework where the America's Cup doesn't disappear for 3 years and then pop up every 4 years. Hopefully that partnership agreement will create some continuous action and racing in those previously off years of the Cup.
Good. And finally, Abu Dhabi, you got the big final. You're about to head off on Sunday. How are you going to go, mate?
Yeah, heading off to Abu Dhabi. We're in a bit of a different position now, sort of having to fight for our spot in the final. It's we've done 4 seasons where we've sort of been pretty much a lock, or if not a lock, going into the final. It's a different feeling for me. I think we've always been the favourite, and this year we might not be, and I'm actually enjoying it. We've got a lot of work to do to keep Diego Bertin and the Spanish behind us, but if we do that, I have full faith in our team. We've performed under pressure in the past, and I like our chances.
And I'll learn a bit from you today about how to handle the pressure.
Yeah,
that was a good discussion.
Keep that between us. So.
That was a good discussion. All right, Tom. Fantastic having lunch with you today, catching up. Good to see you. Thanks for everything.
Awesome. Thanks.
See you, mate.
How was that for a timely lunch interview? And now add another, big name, superstar in our sport.
Right.
As David James says, who in their right mind, what did he say up in the comments? He said, is there a single thinking person who approves of making the last race the only one that counts?
Oh, yeah.
And Clark Chapin and on and on and on. Why are we doing this to our sport? There was a big, long thing today about adding team racing, 2v2 or 3v3 team racing to the Olympics. Excuse me, sailors can't understand team racing. Keen racing sailors the other day over at St. Francis.
Yeah.
For the big sail, Julia.
Yes.
Can't understand what the hell's going on with team racing. Just go put some cool boats back in the Olympics, have them have a regatta, and everyone will go out and watch it and want to see who's winning. And if you don't have throwouts so that nobody wins before the final race, the final day, it'll be fine. And the best team, the best sailor will win.
Yes.
Add Tommy Slingsby to that list. Thank you, Alistair. Fabulous interview.
Yes.
From Mr. President Emeritus, Alistair Murray, and Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote he actually sent that to me on Friday, but I'm glad I saved it to today, to Tuesday. While we're on Australian sailing, just as we're 2 hours into the show, just a quick note here. That's a photo from 1983, the Newport Armory, where the press conferences were held. The post-race press conferences were held in those days. There in the middle, of course, is the winning skipper in 83, John Bertrand. And he was given a medal, an award by Australian Sailing the other day. JB, the Australian JB, has received his Paranjoey pin at the Australian Sailing Team camp in Melbourne. The pin is a symbol of Australia's Olympic and Paralympic sailing legacy and was presented to Bertrand by two-time Olympic gold medalist Matty Wehren. Why do I pronounce his name like it's German? Matt Wehren. It marked a proud and long-awaited moment for one of Australia's most influential sailing figures. For Bertrand, whose name is etched into national memory through the 83 Cup, this recognition reached back to where it all began. And we talked about this the other day with John Marshall? One of the recent guests about, a lot of people don't realize this guy was a bronze medalist in the Olympics before he won the Cup in Newport in 1983. That is JB. Mm-hmm. Bertrand, an Olympic bronze medalist in the Finn class. What a fabulous class with a lot of great sailors and a lot of history and tradition, like the Star.
Yes.
In the Finn class in 76 in Montreal reflected, quote, "We'll talk about serendipity. My home club, the Australian Sailing Team, on the road to Los Angeles. It's pretty. It's a beautiful thing." Though his America's Cup triumph became his global calling card, it was his Olympic campaign that shaped the mindset behind that historic victory. Quote, "Probably 3 or 4 months after I won the bronze, listen to this. This is gold.
Yeah.
It became clear to me I believed I could have won the gold just as easily if I was mentally tougher," said Bertrand.
Yeah.
Quote, "And in hindsight, that was the important part of winning the America's Cup because it led me on the road to the whole world of resilience, sports psychology, the power of the mind, just as importantly as the thousands of hours you do on the racetrack for training." And that, Julia, was his message to the Australian camp that was assembled there in Melbourne the other day.
Couldn't be better.
Bravo Zulu. Thank you to several of you who sent that to me from down under, and Bravo Zulu to JB, Matt Wehren, and all. Julia, what happened on this day, the 25th of November
in
1892? No, you weren't born then, I know. Here's your first clue.
Oh, Handlebars.
Mr. Handlebars. His name, he was born with the name Charles Pierre de Freddy from France, born in 1863, just after AC 0, and died in 1937, the year of the third J-boat regatta. He had nothing to do with sailing, so far as I know. He was a French educator and historian, at least not directly with sailing. French educator and historian, promoter of sports in schools. Mm-hmm. His name that you might better know him by, Baron de Coubertin from France. Mm-hmm. See if anybody in the chat has got it. Speaking of the Olympics, David James, I think, has it. And here is His manuscript, his speech that he gave, it's a 14-page manuscript, which has now been donated to the IOC Museum in Lausanne. The 14-page manuscript contains the speech in which Coubertin first presented his visionary idea to revive the Olympic Games in the modern world. It was delivered on this day, the 25th of November, in 1892 at the old Sorbonne in Paris, during the celebration of the 5th anniversary of the French Athletics Foundation, Athletics Federation Union, when Pierre de Coubertin was only 29 years old.
Oh, good.
2 years later, in the same auditorium, the decision to reestablish the Olympic Games was formalized. He is the co-founder of the modern Olympics, widely regarded as the founder, but he was one of several who got it going. He struggled with the Greeks because they kind of wanted to do it, didn't want to do it. It's quite an interesting read. And this day in history, Pierre Baron de Coubertin from France proposes the modern Olympic Games. And Julia, for extra credit, and we'll see if anybody in the chat gets this. For extra credit, what Olympic medal did he win? Jody Shields thought that mustache picture looked like an early picture of K-Hart. That'd be Toronto. Yeah, modern Olympics. Yeah, a lot of you have gotten Chris Fury.
Well, one of the things that was going on then are all running games.
Running games?
I mean, running races.
Yeah, running races. What medal did he win? He got fourth, Jody Shields says. No, he won a medal. Is there a medal for mustache waxing? Clark Chapin asked.
Yes.
Bicycle mustache racing. Claire Harrington says, was it fencing? There he is, around about the time he won the medal. Men's synchro swimming. Literature. David James is either very bright because he went to Stanford or he's fast afoot with Google. He said, literature. And yes, indeed, art competitions, I had no idea, were held as part of the 1912 Summer Olympics in Stockholm.
Good for them.
It was the first time that art competitions were part of the Olympic program. Medals were awarded in 5 categories, Julia.
Yes.
5 categories: architecture, literature, music, painting, and sculpture for works inspired by sport-related themes. Art competitions were part of the Olympic program from 1912 to 1948, but were discontinued due to concerns about amateurism. I made that word up. I didn't make it up, but I dragged it forward from earlier days, about amateurism and professionalism. Because remember, the games in those days were strictly amateur.
Yes. Apparently,
writers would be professional, could be professional, or might have been professional when they were supposed to be amateur for the sake of this competition. Since 1952, a non-competitive art and culture festival has been associated with each games. So this guy, de Coubertin, won the gold medal for literature at the 1912 Summer Olympics for his poem Ode to Sport, which was the first time the arts competition were included in the games. Here's an excerpt. O sport, delight of the gods, distillation of life. In the gray dingle? Dingle?
Yeah.
Of modern existence, restless with barren toil, you suddenly appeared like the shining messenger of vanished ages, those ages when humanity could smile.
Yeah.
You're the big fan of prose like Magnus the Magnificent.
Yes. Yeah.
And a few others. Bring back the Olympics as amateur, protect the sports for the masses. Magnus and Richard would be joint gold medalists in the current games if this continued, Jody Shields says. Yes. Okay, so that's what happened on this day in history. Yes. He proposed the modern Olympics, and 2 years later, it was a thing, which gets us to the last leg. And I'm going to save this to Friday because we're now 2 hours and 9 minutes into the show, Julia. I have a 10-minute video interview with Tom Slingsby. We just heard from him with Alistair Murray. But this, I'm just going to play the first few seconds of it because it is long, but it is cool. And I thought it would be good for today, but thankfully Terry was very talkative today. And
He was.
I could gone on for another hour with him.
I have a whole new view of him from today's.
What happened to your camera 3, Julia? It was moving around there. Huh? Oh, you know what? You gave it a signal with your when you put your hands up, and it gave it the signal to move. Okay. Right. I'm going to pass on today's day in history. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to pass on I'll play the first few seconds of this film.
Sailing is a really humbling sport.
For Friday.
One day you can predict everything.
Let's go.
And then on a different day.
Oh! Disaster for Australia! The wing's fallen down! Massive incident there!
So you've really got to enjoy the good moments because you don't know how long they're going to last.
Okay, well, needless to say, it's another fabulous Rolex video. And it's also a review of the season, of this 5th season, season 5, and a bit of a preview for this weekend's grand finale in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. So we'll run that video on Friday's show, which will be our preview show for Sail GP. Julia?
Yes.
Brings us to the D block. You ready?
Yes.
They're all clean. I guarantee you, today they are all clean.
Oh, my.
Please help. Not homeless, just need money for sailing expenses.
Yes.
That's from the Old Boat Sailor. This is a Facebook page that's getting a lot of good jokes and good things that various people pass on, and Rick Bannerow thankfully passed that one on. Mm-hmm. Well, you almost made it, except for your language while docking the sailboat. St. Peter is telling... I don't know if that's Greg Phillips.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Nice cartoon from Greg down in Australia. Thank you. And then Julia, apropos Movember, we've been talking about that now for a few weeks. I hate it when you, we have Movember.
Yes.
We got KR, we got this de Coubertin. But I hate it when you offer someone a sincere compliment on their mustache and suddenly she's not your friend anymore. Huh? It's good.
Yes, I understand that. I have.
Don't you think? I thought that was pretty good. Who sent that? Do you think?
Ted Ryman.
Ryman sent that.
Yeah.
Who else? And of course, that is from our good. I'm going. I'm talking like I've been talking straight for nonstop for 2 hours.
You have.
And that is from our good friend Blake Middleton up in Minnesota. And we appreciate his contributions to this show, as we do all of your contributions.
Yes.
Because all the smartest people sail. Correct?
Right.
Gets us to the finish line, Julia. Thank God. And you like to say.
Yes, this is a lovely time to go back and look at the correspondence and the comments, because you'll think of everything else that we should like to say.
But how about the like, follow, and share while we're at it?
Oh, especially like,
come on,
and
Julia.
Follow and share.
It's been a long show. Comments are welcome, even in replay, and we do appreciate very much those who give us $1 or $2 or $5 or more per month via Patreon or otherwise. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thanks for your support. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who gave us audio, video, and images for today's show, including all of these folks and organizations and websites and beyond. Julia, any final thoughts from you?
No. I was just reading the comment. In what other sports do they let the IOC dictate the format and
Good
rules
point. Well,
of the game being played?
Any sport that's trying to keep themselves in the Olympics, they think they have to do that. And it's 180 degrees the wrong approach.
Yeah.
You got to do what Paul Henderson did, saying our sport is like this. We'll get a lot of eyeballs. We'll get a lot of countries. We'll have good television. If you let us run a classic class like the Finn and the Star, where everybody wants to see it.
Right.
And the racing will be close and so on. Thierry de Jong, thank you. Blake, Joe Holtzman, great show, great show, great show. Thank you all very much. We will do our preview, our Abu Dhabi preview on Friday's show. And we are also going to do, remember, a watch party. I haven't quite got it all sorted out, but it's going to be on Zoom. It'll be private on Zoom. I'll give you the Zoom credentials on Friday's show, but it's the usual one. And a live Zoom watch party for this weekend's grand final, the finale in Abu Dhabi. I also want to say thank you to all of you who sent me birthday greetings, my birthday having been yesterday. Now, this thing, you see this, Julia? It's got my initials on it. Thank you very much. TFE.
Yeah.
And it's got, you see what's sticking out the side?
A tire?
A tire. I can't get it in front of it.
Yeah.
You know what that is? They make these glasses in Wisconsin, and that could have been a golf ball or a, I can't remember. I looked on their website, a lot of different things. That is a hockey puck.
Oh, it is.
Puck you, I think that person I won't tell you who sent it to me, but I think they're saying, puck you, TFE, you hockey puck. The birthday present was very much appreciated, as were all of your kind birthday wishes. Julia?
Sir?
I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. You're coming down here for Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday afternoon. Is that correct?
Thank you.
You will, and we'll do that. We'll have a Thursday afternoon. I have to prepare Friday's show Thursday evening. So no rest, as I said at the top of the show, no rest for the wicked, at least for me. You're not wicked.
No music.
And what do you mean no music?
Well, you have wicked.
Oh, that I don't know what that is. Yeah, a hockey puck. Why not? Clark Chapman. Another lap around the sun. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Thanks again to T. Hutch. He was just fabulous, wasn't he?
He was good.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll see you all on Friday. In the meantime, have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a happy Black Friday if you're shopping.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, go sailing and sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.